Hey guys, great to see you. And today I'd like to talk to you about melody. It's just one of those things that many aspiring guitarists would like to be able to do, as well as many intermediate players, right? I mean, who doesn't want to pull off a great solo over a song? Just one of those things that's great to be able to do. And whilst there isn't a one tool fits all for this particular subject, it's rather a coming together of lots of different elements. It's important to have as many of those elements in our toolbox as we possibly can, and then we have a lot to draw from, and that will really help us become proficient with melody. So if you haven't already, you might like to look back over some of my lessons and collections which take a more in-depth look at some of these ideas. Now today I'm going to take a look at the importance and the correlation between our hearing and our playing, because this is an absolutely huge thing when it comes to melody. In fact, I've heard some very famous guitar players talk about this and how they use this technique to develop some of their soloing ideas. So, it's obviously a tried and tested way. Now, you could be forgiven when you think of listening to some of your favorite solos to thinking, well, yeah, I can hear that and I kind of know what's happening. But being able to translate that to the guitar, of course, is a completely different thing, right? We can think we know something, and indeed we might be able to kind of sing it even or hum it, but it doesn't mean we can play it, right? So that is a kind of holy grail in a sense. If we can hear something and then replicate it on the guitar, I personally don't think it gets much better than that. And there are some of my favourite players have done this. So the likes of George Benson was a famous jazz player who, sang all these riffs as he was playing them, ba ba da ba doo ba doo ba doo, while he was playing them on the guitar. B.B. King was another guy who did this on a number of occasions. He would more or less sing the riff he was playing, and therein lies a very, very powerful technique, and it's something that we can utilise, and something that opens up our auditory kind of skills, which is massively overlooked in a sense. We tend to, if you're anything like me, the way that I always used to go about melody and creating solos was to maybe lay down a backing track and then play over it, be it various different scales, various different tried and tested licks in different keys and things like that. And that you can most certainly, like I say, there are a number of ways to create fantastic riffs, and it's not just this way. But I do think this is much more sophisticated and equips you with something that many of the other techniques don't do. And so, like I say, I've heard some very well-known guitar players talk about this, and also pointing out that if you can't hear it, then you're never really going to be able to play it just off the bat, as it were. Sure, you can sit down and have somebody teach it to you, but you're never going to figure it out yourself if you don't develop some of these auditory skills with your ears and how that translates to the guitar. Now, for example, let's just say we're playing a blues in the key of G. Well, the first thing that we need to do is start at the most simplistic level, and that would be picking out the root notes. Now, we know that that's a G chord, so therefore it means we need to play some G notes over that chord. But not only that, because, like I've said, I could play the G and play licks all day long over that without singing a thing. But that's not what we're trying to do here. It's important to distinguish that. We don't want to fall into that trap when we're practicing this technique. It's important to stick to the plan if you possibly can. And what that means is we play this. Ba, that's a G. So that's a G. That's a G somewhere else. That's a G. Yeah. As I say, we've got a G here. So the G's everywhere. And so that's what I might do. Ba, ba. Okay? Now after that, I then will introduce another note. We're on to two notes. We start out with the one note, which is the root, and then we choose two notes. Now, there are a couple of different approaches that you can use for this. You can think of your scales like your major, your minor, your blues, your pentatonics, and you can play out of those shapes. But in a sense, what I like to do is to give myself some freedom and just feel like I can play anywhere. It could be very often that I'm getting notes wrong and I'm singing a riff and I'm not being able to play it. I hit lots of wrong notes before I get the right note. And that is all very much part of this process. Very important that we go through that. It isn't just going to happen magically. We've got to make those mistakes before we start getting good at this. So I might sing my next riff as ba ba and then try and play it, right? Like so. Now, obviously, I've done this for many years. So very often I can play the riffs. Not always. You know, if it's a very complex riff, that might take me a little while longer. Okay. So we're looking for the two notes. And I can play them in different positions. Same riff. Okay. So it's important to be able to do that as well. And that's just two notes. It could be ba ba. So that's that riff, right? Ba ba. Ba 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 ba. We're always looking to bring our voice into it and sing whatever it is we're playing. Don't fall into the trap of going without going ba ba. We want to sing the note. We want to hear it. We want to be able to translate it to the fingerboard. Really important. That's the whole point of the exercise, guys. If we're not doing that, we've missed the whole point, right? So yeah, now we're in this position where we can play two note riffs, and of course we could go on forever. Now what you may find, and this is something that is very common when we're trying to get a handle on this type of stuff, happened with me all the time, was that my ears weren't fine-tuned enough to know the difference between a wrong note and a right note. So for example, let me just show you what I mean. This little lick where I go ba ba. Well, I know it's that now, right? But when I was starting out, I could be going and think that's the riff. Yeah, that sounds very right. Because my ears weren't finely tuned enough to know it wasn't. It was. Now, you might fall into that category. So what I did when I came up against that kind of dilemma was I thought, what I'm going to do is record myself. This is a far better way of doing it, because somehow we sing it going ba ba, but when we pick up the guitar, we're kind of fooled into thinking that's the lick, because it's not. That's definitely not right, but that seems like it's right. So what I would do is I would often, to start with, record it. Have another listen. And then see if I could translate it. No, I would say that's not it. Try again. Now I used to think, like I said, yeah, that's it. But now I have the recording. I'll move up one more and try it. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so although it seems very simplistic, it just depends how good our ears are, how much we've used them on our guitar journey to date. And, you know, it could be that you've tried lots of different type of techniques in this regard. So without us running before we can walk, right, I would like you to experiment with some of these ideas just to see where it leads you. Now, I might then move on, like I say, the natural progression for me then would to really exhaust lots of two-note riffs. So I was really comfortable. I could play lots of different two-note riffs and sing them, more importantly, okay? It's not just play them, we have to sing them before we go try and find them on the guitar. Of course, the next natural step would then be a three-note riff. Ba-da-ba, ba-dum-ba. Yeah? Ba-da-ba. If I wasn't too sure, I would come to my recorder on my phone, ba-da-ba, and then I might go, and I'd say, no, that isn't right. No, that isn't right. And then I would have a check on my recording, and I'd think, yeah, okay, let's try again. I think, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Is that right? And I'd play it again. No, it's that last note I'm getting wrong. Yeah, that's the note. So you see, the recorder is a great assistance when we're trying to figure out these things. So I would limit yourself somewhat to the tools that you use to do this. If you just use a recorder to be your guide, because honestly, you will find if you just go ba-da-ba to start with, it really is a challenge, because you can kid yourself into thinking that that might be right. And until you hear it and you can play along for sure and know 100% that's what's happening, you haven't really cracked it until you've done that. Now, if this is a kind of lesson that you've enjoyed and you'd like us to develop this a little bit more, and for me to give you a little bit more information on how we can progress down this road, because personally I think, like I say, this idea has a lot of mileage, then please do engage with me down below and I will come back and develop the idea a little bit further. But in the meantime, see what you can figure out for yourself. See if this brings something new to the table for you, and please share those experiences with me down below. And I'll look forward to seeing you soon with another lesson. In the meantime, you take care, guys.